So there's this journey that I reckon all coaches have to go through in the early stages of their coaching career. And it's really this period where you're sort of deep into a particular training methodology or perhaps following a particular person, and you're just all in on the thing. And it's kind of all consuming, and you become so immersed in this thing because there's so much happening, there's so much input at that time, and you're kind of like a sponge, and whatever this thing is that you're on, it's like just you're mainlining it. Like it's so exciting, and it's kind of your world. Now, some coaches will only go through this for a short period. Some will go in there and never leave there. And I had this experience. Today, Paulie and I are chatting about that. For me, it was being in the movement thing. And I don't want to paint this as a negative thing necessarily, because it's most definitely not. However, there are negative aspects to it. And so today we're talking about what that journey was like for me and the learnings that I was able to gain once I stepped out of that place. I hope you enjoy the chat. Let's go. I run into Mikey and Tommy's brother every week or so. You know, they got a brother, a third one.
Oh.
He lives in Gladesville.
I don't think I know that.
Danny.
Did he ever come back here, Danny?
Much less of an accent than them. I think he's been here longer.
How did you make the connection?
They would always talk about him because he's a jiu-jitsu guy, and they'd always talk about how he loves Bulletproof and listens to the podcast and stuff. And then I was at Bunnings one weekend, as I am most weekends.
And you were in aisle 23 and saw the ears.
That's right. I'm looking at, chainsaw oil. And some guy you Joey from the podcast. I love it. I'm Mikey and Tommy's brother. I was like, holy shit, it's you. And then now that same cafe where the guys aren't particularly friendly, and I always see Robbie Volpato and Joel Hardaker.
Yeah.
That same cafe, he goes in there. He rocks up in his like no-gi gear, like rashy and shorts, like no shoes, like just kind of flexing a little bit to order his coffee.
Funny.
Yeah.
Where does he train around there?
There's an SJJA in Gladesville.
Okay.
Yeah, which is that kind of one of the newer franchises in the area.
Yep.
Nice gym. I've been there. You remember? I don't know if you remember. Big Sam used to train with us. Animal, trained in the mornings. Drove out from Ride.
Fuck.
Jacked dude. Just loved the hard work. Like the kind of guy that's just grinding in his garage all the time. Weighted vests and fucking heavy barbells. He used to train with us at the old gym.
Oh, okay.
And he trains jits there, and so does a couple guys from Hunters Hill.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, bro, that's the Gladesville Connect. Anyway, it's fucking awesome to see Mikey and Tommy back in the gym.
Isn't it?
It is so is. It's like you forget about how you forget about those relationships that you've had because when you've run a gym for long enough, you've seen so many come and go.
Yep.
And then when one of them pops back in, you're like, oh man, we had a whole chapter together.
That's right. And with them and the two Irish boys, they had their partners training here too, and their mum, who was just a fucking ledge.
Yeah.
Vera Cully.
That was her name, yeah.
Yeah. She's still going, as in still active, as they said. She's a light, isn't she? She's just one of those ladies.
Just sharp,
fit.
Yeah, like never.
She's a matriarch for sure.
Yeah.
She goes around, mate, it's great to see them. There's a few other faces as well that you might have seen crossing in through the nights and the mornings. It's been really good to have those old members back.
Yeah. Yeah, that idea that you did a campaign, right? That sort of targeted them. But yeah, I'm guessing it makes you think like, fuck, why wasn't I doing this?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Hey, I thought today we could have a little chat around being in a training dogma and being basically when you get stuck in a world of training that you can only see it and you close off to everything else. And I was kind of thinking about my journey with movement, and I've been looking at some other friends over time who I also knew from that world, some who have found their way out of it and have expressed the same kind of sentiment of like thinking that that was everything and now realizing that it totally wasn't.
Yep.
And I just thought it'd be an interesting conversation to kind of, you know, it sort of goes to that specialist, generalist thing that we've spoken about
Many times before.
But I think like from a coach's perspective, it's just a cautionary tale almost.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to when I attended the first Ido Portal workshop that I ever went to, the first one for me. It was in Melbourne. It was 2 workshops back to back. He did a Movement X, which was a Saturday, Sunday, and then an upper body strength, which was Monday, Tuesday. And it was at this CrossFit gym, and
You thought you were the shit.
Bro, I was the fucking shit.
You're like, yeah, I do Cali down at Bondi.
That's right.
Bars.
Yeah, I was in the group of the guys that had the muscle up, which then it was like, you're a black belt. It's like, oh, we're going to split the room into people that have muscle up, people that don't. And then you like stroll into the group of a few dudes. And you're like, yeah, we got muscle ups. It's so funny, right? Looking back.
Little did you know.
Elite. Well, no, but just that like, I mean, whatever. Yeah, it's all in your own head. But that kind of was elite to a degree then because no one was doing it.
Yeah. To status quo it was.
Yeah, whereas now it's just another movement. It's like a chin up.
Yeah.
You know.
In our side of the industry and stuff, because it is fucking elite for still a huge part. But yeah, I know what you mean.
But you know, so that was like early on in the Jungle Brothers journey, right? Like we were, you know, we had the gym in the old one in Banks Meadow, and you know, my training, whatever. I was trying to think what I was probably doing more kind of CrossFit style stuff.
You're doing CrossFit, you had kettlebells, and you're doing jiu-jitsu.
That's right.
And you had those KBs in your back, you know, that little car park at the back of your place in Bondi.
Yep.
And then you had the mats on the skate ramp, and you were blending those two. Fuck, I remember doing some kettlebell workouts with you and dying. And I just remember not using a lot of weight. And then seeing you, I think it was posting. It was either, I don't know. Yeah, I guess we were on social. Of course we were on social media. It's probably more like Facebook then. And then you posting this fucking like ladder or something that you did. It was short, hard and fast with kettlebells. And it was like with 24 kilos in each hand. And I was just like, how the fuck? Like, yeah, you were really conditioned then.
And yeah, I was. Yes. Yeah. I mean, kind of, yeah. Not a lot of technique. Just
Brute
doing
strength.
it. That's right.
Yeah, so you were doing that and then, movement, then movement, full stop.
Yeah, I was like, we were doing that, like the animal patterns and stuff, and you know, that had kind of come from the jits world. We were doing a lot of that, like in warm-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
And sort of park workouts and whatever. But then, you know, yeah, so when the Ido workshop came, I was like, fuck yeah, booked a ticket to Melbourne, booked the thing, went down there, not knowing anyone that was attending it, and just had the most epic weekend, and it was like for 4 days.
Yeah.
Stayed with Laff and Barnaby at their place.
Oh.
But I don't know, it was the first time I'd sort of travelled, I don't know, professionally in a sense.
Yes.
Like how I'm going to go to another city and go and attend this thing that's, you know, for my profession. And just be immersed in that. I didn't have anything else on besides attending that event and being in a new city, which was it was so cool.
Had you left the film industry?
I believe so.
Yeah, it was just around that time. It was pretty fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, wicked.
But anyway, I remember that, and it was, you know, I've spoken about that before. That was a hugely impactful 4 days for me in terms of like some of the things that I learned, but also more the perspectives that I came away with and those sort of shifts.
Totally.
And so I remember then that was really the beginning of me going balls deep into the movement thing and just being like, this is it. This is where it's at. And just like handstands, front levers, planche. It's all that matters. You know, like
low gate pattern.
Yeah,
games.
locomotion, all that, games, yeah. And I remember, you know, some of the workouts that I would program at the old gym as a direct result from that workshop.
Yep.
Some good ones, some shit ones. I remember getting people to do like a 20-minute AMRAP of like 20-second front lever, 20-second back lever, and then a sprint.
Oh.
And people just being like, I can't do this. And I'm like, keep going. And just
the revelation is on the other side.
Yeah, just being oblivious to that, like, that's actually a shit workout. Like, the people don't need to do it like that.
For most people, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, even if you're good at it, like,
yep.
you know, for the listeners, put a superset sprint with your like straight arm isometric holds.
If
you'll be shit at all of it, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really shifted things, and then, you know, whatever, like I don't know, probably the next few years, it was all about that. And it was, I think I did 12 months of sort of my own training, and then I committed to online coaching with Ito and did that thing for, I don't know, a year or something.
Buried in it.
And it was everything, you know. And then you're in it, right? You got friends that are in it. You go to the movement camp, then all of a sudden, hey, hanging out with everyone. I remember being at the first movement camp and being like my first movement camp, being in like they split it up into 4 groups, and I was just with a group. Some cool cats, made some good connections there. And, you know, you finish movement camp and you're in Thailand, so going and hanging out. I think I went and met up with my sister in Cambodia. She was living there at the time.
That's right.
But just like, I got to train every day, like, because you have to.
Yep.
You know, and then come back and it's like training's the most important thing. And I would get together with the other Aussies who were because there's only a few of us, but we're all spread around. Few in Melbourne, few in WA, few here in Sydney, Newcastle, whatnot, Rod Cooper, you know, the crew. We'd get together and we'd train, and it'd be like, hey, so-and-so's coming into town, let's all get together. And it would be about food and black coffee and training. Awesome times.
Awesome.
But you're in this world, and I remember it like so clearly, where training is the most important thing. And anyone who doesn't see that is an outsider and almost is to be ridiculed, you know? And there's, you know, you hear, oh, have you seen this guy? Have you seen that? That's low quality handstand. They don't know what it is. They're not doing the work. Yeah. You know, you become really judgmental, and you're in this thing. You're like, but we know because we're the fucking elite squad.
Fucking oath.
Cringy.
Yeah.
In many ways, like the elitism that comes, and I'm not saying that's, you know, like they're all lovely people that I was hanging out with.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of trying to point at how that can evolve.
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk about the topic, like being in a dogma, because I do see pros and cons. Like, there's obvious cons, and the kind of way that we're framing it is a little bit biased towards like the cons, but there are pros to it. I think you'd agree, because at a time you've gone and studied intensely something. And when you're studying intensely on something, and to be intense, you've really got to cast away everything else. So, you know, I think you'd agree that was probably, and you said in a professional kind of way, that was like a degree where you were focused in on something specific, and you went in on all the small details. You studied it, you shared it with others, you practiced it, and you learnt by embodying it, etc. And probably some of the, you know, the first lessons and some of the best lessons that you've ever had during that kind of pressure cooker.
Spot
Would you
on.
agree?
Absolutely. Absolutamente, sí.
Oh.
You've been watching the Beckham doco?
I've watched a couple of them.
And they ask Simeone.
Yeah.
Like, do you think you deserve the red card? Absolutamente no.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Yeah, bang on.
Yeah. So
yeah, and that's right. And I'm not trying to discredit any of the good stuff.
Yep.
I guess, can it happen without that? Can you be that immersed and the learning that rich, but you also not chugging the Kool-Aid to such an extent?
That's a really tough question. That's really tough. And I guess there's probably not a clear yes or no answer here. Because I see the benefit in it. And obviously I'm not biased because I haven't done it that way. But I do, especially in the JB's model, I do have come to really see how when you're trying to chase everything and be well-rounded, like there's definitely a call for focusing on things in different chunks of time. But I guess we're talking about we're talking about more of the negative aspects that can happen at the end of the shitty parts of when you're really going in on something and forgetting a lot of other things and almost damning them.
That's right.
You're discrediting them.
Yeah, discrediting or not even seeing them.
Because your blinkers are on and especially like, tough one. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it was great for me, right? Learned a huge amount and gained so much experience and knowledge as a result of it. And, made some great friends and stuff and that whole thing. But I feel that most of the benefit, like a lot of the benefit, has only come from stepping away from it. Because that has enabled me to zoom out and see things more for what they are.
Mm.
So, the technical stuff and the drills and some of those perspectives and the coaching inspirations and the nitty-gritty stuff that you get when you're in there is epic. But you also kind of divorce yourself from like the everyday person when you're in there. Like you start to adopt perspectives of, like you almost can't, in the way that I couldn't see why front levers, back levers and this like superset with a sprint wouldn't be a great workout for the general humans that were coming to our gym.
Yeah.
You kind of start to lose touch with what regular people need and are experiencing in their life.
Yeah, because like we're using the example of movement, and we should probably try and make this discussion using a different example of something. But just on the movement thing, it's really funny because they're like, it depends on what end you're trying to achieve, and where you want to end up. Like, so yeah, if you want to actually learn stuff to go away and help the general public, then yeah, it makes sense that you need to try and keep a broader perspective, keep it all in context. Whereas with the movement game, a lot of people are just trying to become like movement philosophers where, and philosophers just kind of are trying to think deeply about it, and practice it. And I don't know, I think they have to stay in that mindset to be able to explore deeply enough in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're trying to be as subjective about it as possible to try and be investigative and find answers outside of the status quo. So yeah, anyway, it's weird with that. But like if you come back to a different thing, like say BJJ,
yeah,
getting caught up in that dogma, can we like describe like the pros and cons there? Because is that a dogma that you think is relevant for the conversation, or is that too much just one thing? It's not trying to be holistic.
No,
but you can still.
But I don't think any of them are, right? Like I think there's
movements like this is life.
Well,
all you need is this.
Yeah, but I think jiu-jitsu sells the same thing. It's like that hashtag jiu-jitsu saved my life. It's every day, and it's like just be on the mats. Like be on the mats.
Can be that
like,
way, hey.
You will dissolve your ego and just
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, like there's heaps of downsides to it.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. You want to wear these funny pajamas and like roll around with other people. Like you're thinking that that's the center of the universe. It's actually quite an odd thing to partake in. I fucking love it. You love it. When like we're saying this, with a hint of irony, but the reality is like, or, you play cricket and you're like, fuck, it's all about cricket, mate. Fucking, Aussies are playing this weekend. You see that game, India? I think dogmas exist in all of those fields.
Yeah.
And so you choose in a way.
Yep.
And you're involved, like you choose your involvement. And so, whatever, if you're just a fan of cricket, hey, I like watching a bit of cricket, no big deal. But if you're like, my kids all have the uniforms, we go to the games every weekend. I watch, I play, my kids play, then you be like, oh, maybe you're a little bit too far on the inside, perhaps.
Yeah.
Like jiu-jitsu does that, right? You're like, your body can be injured. You can be having exposure to toxic relationships at jiu-jitsu. People that are like, you actually have, things are not going great right now with that person at training, or relationship's not good with your coach, yet you're there every day, all the time. You wake up, you kind of dread going to training, you still go to training. Arguably, when it's at that point, that's kind of the equivalent of, man, my wrist is so sore, I don't know if I can do my third hand balancing session today. But master said I must, so I must.
Yes.
You know? And so I think that, I think the dogma exists everywhere. Again, it's not net bad because there's so much good stuff that comes from it.
Yep.
But I do think that when I stepped away from it, I gained all of this extra perspective.
Yes. And yeah.
Which was not to replace all the cool stuff I gained. It was just new stuff. It's like, oh, actually, I can see this thing for what it was.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's awesome for all these reasons. And then all this shit here, you don't need any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you're probably feeling some, there would have been some pressure in there, and probably some parts of it weren't enjoyable. But now you can see you can see it in a lighter sense and enjoy bits of it when you dip your toe in. Yeah,
exactly. And because I think it becomes like, I think all of those things can become restrictive because all of a sudden you're so into it that you are sort of measuring yourself against other people that are in it. And it's very you're very rarely going to be the person at the top, right? You're never going to be good enough. And so if you go to that place in your mind, then you're constantly like, I'm not good enough. Oh, I can do that, but I can't do that. Fuck, I can't do that. I can't do one arm chin up. Fuck, I got to get that. I'm nothing till I get that.
Yeah.
Like, so what? I can do a hand. Doesn't mean shit. I can't do a one arm handstand. I got to get, and so all of a sudden you start to become really self-critical. Now, arguably that's characteristic of you chasing something. Like it's good to be self-critical.
Yes.
You got to stay hungry. But there's also a point where it's like, nah, hang on. You're actually doing really amazing stuff. Like, here's a good example of where there's toxicity specifically within that thing. Good friend of mine at the time who was very in the culture, very close to the big boss, and was one of the most elite movement people in the world. Was here in Sydney, and I asked, could you come and teach a handstand workshop at the gym? We're doing some handstands. This girl was elite, and I said, can you come and teach some handstands? Like, I'll just put it out to the members. Man, I'm sure we get a bunch of people. She said, yeah, I'd love to. I just got to okay it with the big boss. And then she came back to me the next week, said, can't do it. Big boss said no. Big boss said, I can only do it if it's being taught, if I'm running it on behalf of the brand, and the brand isn't interested in doing a workshop here for handstands.
Sure.
And I was like, wow, what is that? Like, how's that? Like, you're one of the most, like, you got this skill set, and there's people here at my gym that would love to just pay you some cash to learn it. Like, how cool would that be? And you're not allowed to, And I was like, that's like that, is kind of just, that's emblematic of the toxicity that can occur
in a community.
Yeah.
Yeah, within a dogma.
Whereas I'm sure that person who's now no longer in that realm.
Yep.
Has probably done some awesome handstand workshops.
Where's the names, lad?
Probably, yeah. Probably can.
Blow it up.
Dylan Butcher. Can probably, sup Dills, can probably freely, is probably freely shared what she knows and beautiful, right? But has only come to that because she's now stepped away.
Gotcha.
So I just, I don't know. I don't know if other dogmas work to that same extent. It's almost like, I don't know. The closer you get to the top of a thing, the more kind of critical of yourself you are. And, I know that like as a jiu-jitsu black belt, I feel less qualified now to talk about jiu-jitsu than when I was a fucking purple belt.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Well, I just have a higher expectation of myself,
Oh, gotcha.
and I know what I don't know.
Yes.
You know, is that thing, right?
Yep.
I'm acutely aware of what I don't know. And so in my eyes, that makes me not good enough. Whereas when I was oblivious to what I didn't know, I thought I knew everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I was happy to share it.
I know a few of those people.
In jiu-jitsu?
Everywhere.
What, the people who are like the earlier, like the blue belt Joey?
Yeah.
They're like, this is the way.
Yeah, just generally exercise-wise. So really we're talking about exercise dogmas, aren't we? And how you're thinking about or what community or dogma of training you're in.
Yeah.
And how that can be harmful.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think if we're talking like, if we're like getting more specific about it, you know, for our people, we've got my backstory there.
Yes, yeah.
I think specifically where it becomes a problem is when you lose touch with what it is that the people that you're coaching actually need. Because what you want and what you need is not the same as their needs.
So we're coming back to wanting to pass that, wanting to take that learning and being able to help the regular person with it.
Yeah. Because you
can, as an individual, you can do whatever dogma you want and stay in that corner.
Yeah, that's right. You've got that.
But we're talking, in terms of being able to take that and help other people.
Yeah, you know, like you see it like with the movement thing that coaches are into it, and they're fully into it, and they're like, I'm training, fucking twice a day, 5 days a week, and then they got someone at the gym that's looking at them like, oh wow, I want to do some PT with you. And then all of a sudden that person is now following a program that's kind of the same as what the coach is doing. Yep. And it's like that dude or that person, they don't actually want to train twice a day, 5 days a week. Mm-hmm. They admire you and they just want to get stronger and, more physical and feel good and, maybe learn some cool shit as well. But don't bring them in at the level you're on.
Totally.
Like you got to understand that they're just like, they work a full-time job. They don't train all day. They got whatever other obligations that require their time and attention. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I know that for myself where you sort of imprint your goals onto that person.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the conversation, and tell me this, right? You're the sales guy, at the moment, largely in this gym. It's very easy in a conversation with someone who's come to the gym and is like, hey, I'm interested in joining. It's very easy for you to, like you ask that person, what are your goals? Mm-hmm. What are they going to tell? Like, what do you think, like what do most people tell you when you ask them what their goals are?
A lot of people don't know what their goals are and it's quite confronting.
Right?
So then that's where you kind of start to really listen closely to the words that they try to use. But you also have to take that with a grain of salt. Like, well, they're just using words that they think describe what they want. They don't fucking know. They're like, oh, I just want to get a bit fit, and if they don't have like an injury, that's the reason why they're here, then they just want to get a bit fit, maybe lose a few kilos if they're brave enough to tell me that. But they're not really sure. I just want to get back into it.
So if you are, right, and that's what I would expect, right? So then if you're like deep in this thing and you're like, nothing else matters besides handstands in the morning, upper body strength training at night. We've got straight arm tomorrow, legs in the afternoon. Like, you're just so into the training thing. And this person's like, oh, I don't really know. Like, what do you think? Like, and you're like, let me help you with your goals.
Well,
press the handstand.
Yeah.
We got one arm chin up, right?
That's
like
it.
you can kind of see where you start to bias, like you start to imprint what you want, what you think matters onto them.
Well, how's like this way of how that's really bad is, say you're empowered with, say, all of this type of training. It's pretty high level and it has a philosophy behind it. And then you're like, okay, I want to help people. I'll go work at a gym. And then you get your first 5 clients are just overweight people.
Yep.
And you're like, fuck, what do I do there? And either you just give them the training that you've got and regress it and you have a really bad time, or then worse, you decide, I just want to help people who want to do this type of training, so I'm going to kind of pre-screen them by putting out for dedicated people only who have 5 chin-ups, 5 dips already, and then I'm just going to help them because that's what I believe in, and that's fucking the wrongest thing out. I think that's so fucking stupid, and I hate that mentality.
Why?
Well, it's just obviously my perspective on and it depends what you're putting out there, but from a health perspective, I just think that we should be helping everyone. You know, if you're working in a regular gym, and I just think if someone needs help and you're a coach, you should be helping them with their goals. And if that means that, you know, you need to do different training, then you got to do a different type of training. I just think that's so irresponsible.
Yeah.
And also it's just fucking stupid.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree that
and they can do that, of course. I'm just saying that I don't think it's cool.
Yeah, of course. I don't think there's anything wrong with specializing. Right, as a coach, this is what I'm really good at teaching, but I think what you're getting at there is also that it's a cop out for coaches. Who are unable to see their own bias, and so they're like, the person they're not motivated, they don't want it enough. You're like, no, you're just not meeting them where they're at, and you're neglecting to understand that. You've been on this journey for a decade, and you're here now, and they're back here. You need to go back to some of the things maybe you were doing.
That's right.
Earlier in time.
That's right.
And try to influence them over time to get towards level 12.
Yeah, because they can still be, you know, training under your kind of framework of ideas, but yeah, like you said, they're on that level. And I guess because my perspective when I just reflected for 20 seconds is that, yeah, I just think the health industry in general, well, there's a problem. And the problem is that there's a lot of unhealthy people around in the world today. And I kind of feel like that's first and foremost our responsibility. So I just think that with that perspective, I think that people should be helping people more broadly as well. Anyway, it just annoys me because we had that kind of happening. I've seen that happen before, and it's just stupid.
Yeah, it is. So something say on that goals piece, I think that you'll see people if people come into this gym and they see people doing handstands, people working on the rings, people lifting barbells, stretching, doing splits and shit. And this is, of course, they're looking at the upper end of what goes on, but that's usually what you see, right? You walk into a gym, you see the weapons. You don't see the normal people so much. You're always drawn towards the elite stuff. You see the board where it's got weighted pull-ups and, back bends and all this high-level shit. You're probably not going to come, if you've been looking at this gym and thinking about joining it, and maybe you listen to the podcast and you've followed on social media and then you come in here, you're not going to come in here and go, I want to do a 5K run I want to hit this kind of time. Because it's not that kind of place. You're probably going to come in here, and when someone says to you, what are your goals? You are more than likely, because we're kind of all people pleasers, if you don't have something specific, which most people don't, beyond, I just want to get fitter and feel a bit better about myself, which isn't really a goal, right? In most people's minds, it's not what it hasn't crystallized in their mind. They're going to regurgitate something that your gym has already told them matters. So they're going to be like, muscle up would be cool. Kind of seen the handstand. That looks pretty great.
Yep, I can help you with that.
You're like, all right, we got muscle up, we got a handstand. What else? Got to get some mobility. You want splits? All right, let's do splits. Okay, great.
Thought so.
What about, okay, cool. So we're going to do 5-day split,
Yeah.
And again, if you have that bias, you can't process that they're kind of telling you what you've told them so that you need to read between the lines. And I think that's where it can really become a problem. Because again, you're just passing on you're just projecting your world onto them. Whereas they're like, man, look, I just want to feel a bit better, lose a bit of weight, put on a bit of muscle, have a good time. Seems like a fun place. Yeah, the rings look great. Teach me some shit.
Yeah.
And then, and of course, you know, hopefully for the listeners, you can see that there are two very different pathways there. You know, the biased pathway is like, I'm going to put this person on a program or a trajectory that is unsustainable for them and likely unrewarding and unenjoyable. They might like it for the novelty value for the first little while, but they're not going to be able to sustain the training load that you're prescribing. They're not going to be able to meet your standards. Versus the other one is like, okay, cool. Well, let's aim low. Let's go for the low-hanging fruit. Let's get you in for a few classes per week. You know, a bit of lifting, bit of stretching, bit of body weight stuff. That's a nice combo. Let's just do that for a couple of months and then check back in. Like, and so for me personally, I couldn't see that second avenue until I had really had a bit of a chance to reflect on this universe that I was so immersed in.
You've definitely matured.
Wisdom.
It kind of has been come with that moustache that you've grown. It's really...
It's a shame the listeners can't see it.
Yeah, I know.
Nothing is as divisive for me in my life right now as people's feelings about my moustache.
It was the mullet once upon a time.
Yeah. It was a love-hate. Always love-hate whenever I do shit to my hair.
Well, you're a people person. People care. You're that celebrity now.
That guy from the podcast.
So maybe this is not a useful line of thinking. It's kind of thinking more holistically about health is a dogma as well.
Tell me more.
Well, what is a dogma? It's almost like a culture.
Yeah. Set of values, set of beliefs.
Yep.
I believe.
So I guess, yeah, it's a dogma as well. Like dogmas aren't necessarily bad. It's just a word to describe a set of values, a set of beliefs, and maybe there's some more specific practices involved in that. But it is dogma as well. It's not a bad one to have. It's more of a broader view. And you can prescribe to that and say, I believe in having a broader view. And that's my dogma. What do you got there?
Not far off. A dogma is a principle or set of principles laid down by an authority as incontrovertibly true.
Well, I'm definitely an authority.
That's right. So yeah, it's like the extreme end of a set of beliefs.
Gotcha. And that's why there's a negative connotation when we use
incontrovertibly true. Like this is everything.
Gotcha. Yes. Yeah. Well, it's funny because we say this is everything, this one thing, but the one thing we're pointing to is all things.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Because what we're saying is the dogma is you need to consider everything. You need to have a broad view.
Yeah.
To inform your decisions. Anyway, I guess that's what it says.
That's right. We're all dogmatic.
Yes.
I think I remember someone talking to Ito about that actually. They said, you just chose movement because that's the biggest dogma.
Yeah.
He's like, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's right.
So, and that's kind of what, when I skip to what we're doing here.
I would only push back on that because I would say that we don't proclaim that our belief is incontrovertible, i.e. is undeniable or cannot be disputed. We're like, no, it can be disputed. Dispute it with us.
Sure.
Like this thing evolves. And it does, right? We do openly embrace the evolution of our ideas here.
Yes.
So while we have a set of beliefs around physical development and mental development or, community growth, we're also like, it can change over time because we're just operating off what we know now and that's gonna change over time.
Yeah, that's true. So
there you fucking go, bro.
Nah, well, I'm living it.
Bro.
So don't fucking point at me.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell me something different and you'll go with it if it's true. But yeah, because I came in without having those, if I think about my own experience, without having those deep kind of swathes of years where I was in one dogma. I kind of came in and I was like, hey, la-di-da, this is cool, guys. I like training with you guys. And it's, I guess, when I think early on, at some point, I was thinking, Well, when you're early in your kind of building your awareness of your own physicality and the training realms and looking at the different practices and playing in them, you do really, like, there's so many light bulb moments and paradigm shifts, and at any one little micro moment of months or half a year, you're really applying one dogma and embodying it a bit to learn from it. But I didn't like go balls deep in. I have never gone balls deep in any one thing.
That's right, bro. You haven't fucking.
You
haven't been to the movement deep waters.
The movement gagouge. I never went there. Yeah, but what's that?
What's great?
It was great. I
mean, you're one of them, right? You're one of the wannabe movement guys. Yeah, that's what we call you guys.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like sometimes, maybe I will.
But you maybe, like, and again, pros and cons to that, right? But
But it's like I have the advantage of having that perspective because I was shown that perspective from kind of day one, which is really nice for me. But now, and as I said at the very beginning, if someone wants to train like me, or, I have lots of people in the gym here and they're like, fuck, man, you do everything and you do it to a pretty good level. If I'm like if I've reflected on it and I'm helping people, I've kind of changed my way of thinking more. Like I felt like I did it really tough because I was trying to do everything all at the same time and I didn't really get the satisfaction of many wins until much later. That's how I found it for myself. I remember and I started training with you guys, and then I was coaching here like at a point where I was fine, proficient enough to be a coach, but I hadn't owned all the stimulus that we were teaching. And my training program for 3 years was whatever was next in the next phase.
Right.
Because I don't want to stand up there and not know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
So while they were training, I was like getting to know it better, feeling it, where the sticking points were and, the common weak points and stuff. So I was like there, and I just remember just doing it all, and I was having fun, but I didn't really experience specific wins in any linear way. I just one day I was like, oh shit, I'm resting here in a squat. Whereas when I started, I couldn't touch my toes. Mm. And then, I'd go away from the barbell, then I'd come back after not snatching for ages and going, fuck, I can do overhead squats where I literally couldn't do overhead squats before. It was just like it was like the barbell was 100 kilos every time because my back was in a position, So anyway, I appreciate like when trying to achieve that well-roundedness, an idea of focusing for different periods of time on something.
A specific
part. So if you're trying to do 5 things, well, let's look at what you've got and, if you want to get there and what you've got and what time you've got in your lifestyle. Maybe you can only do 3 sessions. I think that this is a good pathway. Just stick with this. And we know the end goal's there, but we know that this is probably going to work better if you do 2 parts this, 1 part that.
Yep.
Out of your 2 sessions, 1 session. And let's kind of get this type of proficiency, build this base, and then add this on later. And I just think of that like for, say, jiu-jitsu, as opposed to like training on the gym floor here. Like doing 1 part lift, 1 part bodyweight, 1 session jiu-jitsu. Don't know if that's the best way to go. If you want to get there the quickest way. Right?
Yeah, if you're actually looking to become really proficient in one of those areas.
Yeah. It's like, man, spend 6 months down here.
Yeah.
And do 2 lifts, 1 bodyweight, or 2 bodyweight, 1 lift. What works for your schedule? What do you enjoy?
Yeah.
You're going to get strong and mobile in any one of these disciplines. Dip your toes into the jits after 6 months and get going with there and see where you're at.
Back off the other stuff.
Yeah. So I guess it's just something I thought I'd point out. It's like on the other side of being the opposite to dogmatic and being well-rounded, there's still a case for focusing at different periods on different things, but with that wider perspective.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
Good spot to wrap it.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
All right.
Cheers, guys. Catch you on the next one.
Cheers, Joey.